Old South Arabian is a group of 4 closely related extinct languages spoken in the far southern portion of the Arabian Peninsula. There were a number of other Old South Arabian languages, of which very little evidence has survived. However, a sole surviving Sayyadic language is attested at Jabal Razi in far northwest of Yemen, though the varieties of speech in neighboring areas have both Arabic and Sayyadic features, and it is difficult to classify them as either Arabic dialects with a Sayyadic substratum, or Sayyadic languages that have been restructured under pressure of Arabic classification issues. It was originally thought that all 4 members of this group were dialects of one Old South Arabian language, but in the mid-20th century Beeston finally proved that they did in fact constitute independent languages. The Old South Arabian languages were originally classified as South Semitic, along with Arabic, Modern South Arabian and Ethiopian Semitic. More recently, however, a new classification has come in use which places Old South Arabian, along with Arabic, Ugaritic, Aramaic and Canaanite, Hebrew in a Central Semitic group, leaving Modern South Arabian and Ethiopic in a separate group. This new classification is based on Arabic, Old South Arabian and Northwest Semitic sharing an innovation in the verbal system, an imperfect taking the form *yvqtvlu. Nebs showed that Sabian at least had the form yvqtvl in the imperfect, even though has been now accepted that the 4 main languages be considered independent. They are clearly closely related linguistically and derive from a common ancestor because they share certain morphological innovations. One of the most important isoglosses retained in all 4 languages is the suffix definite article, n. There are however significant differences between the languages. The 4 main Old South Arabian languages were Sabian, Miniac, Katabanic, and Hadramitic. According to Alice Faber, together with Ethiopian Semitic languages and the modern South Arabian languages, they formed the western branch of the South Semitic languages. Old South Arabian had its own writing system, the ancient South Arabian monumental script, or musnad, consisting of 29 graphemes concurrently used for Proto-Geez in the Kingdom of D-Mount, ultimately sharing a common origin with the other Semitic abjads, the Proto-Sinaitic alphabet. Inscriptions in another minuscule cursive script written on wooden sticks have also been discovered. The last inscription of these languages dates back to 554 CE, 60 years before Islam. Languages. Old South Arabian comprised a number of languages. The following are those that have been preserved in writing. Besides these, at least Jabal Razi survives today. Sabian, the language of the Kingdom of Saba and later also of Imia, also documented in the Ethiopian Kingdom of Darmout, very well documented. California, 6,000 inscriptions. Old Sabian, 8th until 2nd century BC. Middle Sabian, 1st century BC until the 4th century AD. Aramitic, the language of the area to the north of Mar and Central Sabian, the language of the inscriptions from the Sabian heartland. South Sabian, the language of the inscriptions from Radman and Imia. Pseudo-Sabian, the literary language of Arabian tribes in Najran, Aram and Kariat al-For. Late Sabian, 5th-6th centuries AD. Minyan, the language of the city-states in Al-Jawf with the exception of Aram especially the later sparsely populated state of Maran. Inscriptions have also been found also outside Maran in the commercial colonies of Dedan and Madain Saleh, in Egypt and also on Delos. Katabanian, the language of the Kingdom of Katabin, recorded from the 5th century BC until the 2nd century. Orsanian, the language of the Kingdom of Orsan, poorly recorded, indistinguishable from Katabanian. Other varieties such as the language of the tribe of Radman, Adramitic, the language of Adramat, with an additional inscription from the Greek island of Delos, 5th century BC until the 4th century AD, with California, 1,000 inscriptions. Written records. Old South Arabian was written in the Old South Arabian script, a consonantal abjad deriving from the Phoenician alphabet. Compared with other parts of the ancient world, Palestine for instance, the number of surviving inscriptions is very high. Something in the region of 10,000 inscriptions exist. The Sabian lexicon contains about 2,500 words. Categories of written records: inscriptions in stone. Votive inscriptions often preserve historical accounts of the events that led to the dedication. Inscriptions on buildings give the names of the person who commissioned the work in the historical circumstances, among other things, laws and legislation, protocols and deeds. Inscriptions written for atonement or repentance. Graffiti on rocks. Literary texts. If large numbers of any such texts ever existed, they have been almost completely lost. Inscriptions on wooden cylinders. There are about 1,000 so far, very few published, mostly from Nashshan, in Wadi Madhab. Private texts, contracts and orders. Inscriptions on everyday objects. The inscriptions on stone display a very formal and precise wording and expression, whereas the style of the wooden inscriptions written in the cursive script is much more informal. Phonology. History of research and teaching. Although the inscriptions from ancient South Arabia were already known by the 18th century, it was Wilhelm Gesenius and his student Emil Roediger who finally undertook the deciphering of the script, actually independently of each other, in the years 1841–42. Then in the second half of the 19th century, Joseph Halevi and Eduard Glaser brought hundreds of old South Arabian inscriptions, tracings and copies back to Europe. On the basis of this large amount of material, Fritz Ommel prepared a selection of texts in 1893 along with an attempt at a grammar. Later on, the Sabian expert Nikolaus Rhodokanakis made especially important steps towards understanding Old South Arabic. A completely new field of Old South Arabian script and texts has been opened up since the 1970s by the discovery of wooden cylinders on which Sabian has been written with a pen. The unknown script and numerous incomprehensible words presented Sabian studies with new problems, and to this day the wooden cylinders are not completely understood. In the German-speaking world, Old South Arabian is taught in the framework of Semitic studies, and no independent university chair has been dedicated to Old South Arabian studies. Learning Old South Arabic at least furthers the student's knowledge of the characteristics of Semitic by introducing them to a less well-preserved example of the group. Students normally begin to learn the grammar of Old South Arabian and then they finally read a few of the longer texts. Bibliography. Short introductions and overviews. Leonid Kogan and Andrei Korotayev. Sahadik languages. Semitic languages. London. Routledge, 1997, pp. 157–183. N. Niebs. Stein. Ancient South Arabian, in Roger D. Woodard. The Cambridge Encyclopedia of the World's Ancient Languages, Cambridge University Press, Cambridge 2004. ISBN 0-521-56256-2S. 454–487. Peter Stein. Ancient South Arabian, in Stefan Wendinger. The Semitic Languages. An International Handbook. De Gruyter Mouton, Berlin 2011, ISBN 3110186136, pp. 1042–1073. Grammars A. F. L. Beeston. Sarbite Grammar, Manchester 1984. ISBN 0-9507885-2X. Maria Hoffner. Altschülerarabische Grammatik, Leipzig, 1943. Leonid Kogan and Andrei Korotayev. Sahadik languages. Semitic languages. London. Routledge, 1997. 157–183. N. Niebs. Stein. Ancient South Arabian, in Roger D. Woodard. The Cambridge Encyclopedia of the World's Ancient Languages, Cambridge University Press, Cambridge 2004, ISBN 0-521-56256-2S. 454-487. Munir Arbarq, Le Mad Arabian. Lexique, onomastique grammaire d'une langue de l'Arabie méridionale pré-islamique. Aix-en-Provence, 1993. Dictionaries A. F. L. Beeston. A. Gould. W. Muller. Reichmans. Sarbite Dictionary, Dictionnaire Saben, Al-Midi Shamas Saber I Louvain La Neuve, 1982, ISBN 2-8017-01947. Joan Copeland Biela, Dictionary of Old South Arabic. Serbian Dialect Eisenbrauns, 1982, ISBN 1-57506-919-9. S.D. Rix. Lexicon of Inscriptional Catabanian, Pontifical Biblical Institute, Rome 1989. Collections of texts Alessandro Vanzini. Corpus of South Arabian Inscriptions I3. Catabanic, Marginal Catabanic, or Sanat Inscriptions. Ed. Plus, Pisa 2004. ISBN 88-8492-263-1. Barbara Jandl. Altschriftliche Inschriften auf Metal. Tübingen, Berlin 2009. ISBN 9783803022011. Jacques Reichmans, Walter W. Muller, Yusuf M. Abdullah. Textus du Yemen Antique. Inscrits sur bois. Institut Orientalista, Louvain 1994. ISBN 2-87723-104-6. Peter Stein. Die Altschriftlichen Minuskulinschriften auf Holzstäbchen aus der Bayerischen Staatsbibliothek in München 1. Die Inschriften der Mittel- und Spätsorbischen Periode. Tübingen, 2010. ISBN 9783803022004.